Welcome to tonight's Salt Lake City Council formal meeting. If you've joined us over the past few months, you've seen already that we're holding our meetings remotely due to the declarations of emergency related to the pandemic and the earthquake. While we continue our remote meetings, we're happy to have you connect with us by phone. Thank you for joining us. To begin, we'll take a moment of silence as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to ourselves. And then when we're done, we'll go ahead and turn the audio back on and proceed with the meeting. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance now. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Although conducting our meetings electronically is different from our in-person normal meetings, we still have a few City Council meeting guidelines to make sure people feel comfortable and safe to participate. To help facilitate our meeting, especially the comment period, please be respectful. Avoid yelling and making any racial slurs, obscene, or defamatory remarks. We're at item A4, which is the approval of minutes. Approving the minutes from our formal meeting of Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, and Thursday, June 4th, 2020. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
look
Councilmember.
to approve those minutes. Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Rogers. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Those pass unanimously. We will move on now to the public hearing portion of the meeting. The standard order for our formal meeting agenda has been adjusted to accommodate the electronic meetings that we're holding. So we'll be combining sections B and C1 of our agenda that include general comments and public hearings. In addition to the comments given tonight, our office has received a number of public comments through email, and they will be included as part of the public record. Tonight is a bit of an unusual agenda. We have scheduled our regular council business to start at 6 p.m. because we also have a truth in taxation public hearing set for 7 p.m. If at 6:50 we still have people that are waiting to comment, we will recess our council public hearing comment period and convene at 7 p.m. to take public comments related to the truth in taxation. Then we will reconvene to the council regular meeting period and the regular public comment period. The reason we have to do this is because of restrictions on the truth in taxation hearing under state legislation, or excuse me, state statute. When our host greets you as you enter our WebEx meeting, please tell her the agenda item that you wish to comment on. Our staff will be sorting people by the topic of their comment and will coordinate with you as your item comes up. Thank you in advance for your patience as you wait while we make our way through the comments. So I want to take a minute to explain our comment process and the rules for that. Although we're all joining the meeting electronically, we do still want to provide a space for people to feel comfortable to participate. To help facilitate our comment period, please be respectful, as I said, and enjoy yelling, do not enjoy yelling, avoid yelling or making racial slurs, obscene or defamatory remarks. If a caller is disrespectful, you will be given one warning. If the caller continues to not follow the council's meeting rules, we will mute your microphone. I will read first the list of public hearings for the evening and then open the comments. Our meeting host will identify the callers in the order that they've arrived in WebEx. The host will call the names of 3 commenters at a time, so the second person and third person can be prepared to speak. If you do not wish to speak, when the host states your name and unmutes your line, please state that you're just here to listen and we'll move on to the next commenter. If you do wish to speak, the meeting host will unmute your line, and then you can state your name, the item that you wish to comment on, and the in which you would like to give your speech for. You'll have 2 minutes, and that 2-minute time will begin as soon as you've given us your name and the item that you're speaking on. At the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. If you indicated that you wanted to speak on more than one item, the host will prompt you to move on to your next topic at the end of the 2-minute mark. If you're unable to complete your full comments within the available time, please feel free to mail those comments to Salt Lake City Council at P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476. Or you can email us at council.comments@slcgov.com or call us at 801-535-7654. Our staff will be messaging with our attendees to coordinate on public commenting. So please also monitor the chat screen and let our staff know which item you wish to comment on in advance. The staff members that are running our chat feature are Robert Nutzman and Amanda Lau. So in addition to our general comment period, we have 8 public hearings tonight, and I'll go ahead and read the title of each of those. Item B1 is an ordinance that would regulate the use of electric scooters and other dockless shared mobility devices in the city. Item B2 is a resolution for project funding allocations for the Capital Improvement Program or CIP program. Item B3 is an ordinance that would amend the final budget of Salt Lake City. The proposed amendment includes Airport CARES Act grant revenue and grant funding from the U.S. Department of Justice's Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. Item B4 is regarding an allowance that would vacate an alley adjacent to properties owned by West End LLC, located at approximately 730 to 740 West, 900 South to Genesee Avenue in the Cummings subdivision. Item B5 is regarding an ordinance that would rezone properties at 5525 and 5575 West, 1730 South from CG or General Commercial to M1 Light Manufacturing. Item B6 is regarding an ordinance that would rezone the properties on 7th North at 1616 West, 1632 West, 1640 West from single-family residential to community business. Item B7 is regarding an ordinance that would rezone the property located at 1612 West and 7th North from single-family residential to community business. Item B8 is regarding an ordinance that would amend the zoning map and future land use map for 2 properties at 771 North and 795 North and 4th West. Amanda, if you would please go ahead and start the public comment period.
Sure thing, Council Chair. This is Amanda from the Council staff. A quick note for all of our attendees. Everyone who's joined will be added to the queue. We will be posting the next 10 names in the chat so you can see who's coming next. If you're just here to listen, feel free to let us know by sending a chat to the host and the presenter. Thank you. And with that, first we have Derek Christensen, followed by Alex April, and then Otto Milicevic. And we'll bring in Derek Christensen. Hi, Derek.
Hi, I guess I hadn't expected to go first. I'm one of the last. I appreciate that. So I represent one of the last items on there at the 795 North property in the rezone. We really look at that project as a culmination of a lot of hard work by the city council and planning staff over the last 20 or so years in writing a master plan that was kind of future looking to develop this community and provide kind of a better atmosphere and community setting towards the future. we look at it as something where we're bringing more community into the area and beautifying that street. I actually work in one of those two buildings. I feel like I'm a member of the community as I'm probably here 12 hours a day. This is definitely close to our heart and something that we look forward to seeing grow within this community. So we'd definitely be for and approving of that. So I don't really have much more to say other than that.
Hey, can I just ask a point of, as part of point of personal privilege, Mr. Christensen, I think last time we discussed this item, there was some question about somebody or about the power lines there. Were you able to talk with Rocky Mountain about that and sort that out?
Yes, in fact, we looked at it. Our current planning and development of that space should be well clear of it. We are looking at a lower structure, not taking advantage of the full zoning. It's not our intent to, just maximize the whole area. We're considering the community at large, the impact of those power lines, parking in the neighborhood, the noise, and just a holistic approach to this neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. And just so other commenters know, normally we don't ask or engage in dialogue from the council, but because we didn't discover this until we were already at this point in the process at our previous hearing, I felt like we needed to clarify that in public so that people knew. So, thank you. Next commenter.
Next, we have Alex April, followed by Ado Milicevic, and then Ian Percy. Alex?
Hi, good evening, honorable council members, and thank you so much for the opportunity to give comments this evening. I'll be speaking on item B4, so the dockless shared mobility. And so I've met with many of you before, but my name is Alex April, and I'm a senior government partnerships manager for Spin, one of the scooter companies here in Salt Lake City. And so Spin is an independent subsidiary of Ford Motor Company, and we're committed to working with cities that we operate in, and that's why we created our partnership promise. To us, partnership means, meeting shared goals around safety, responsiveness, and equitable service. We've been in regular communication with city staff and continue to increase outreach to local community groups during this time to make sure that we're meeting all of your needs. Spin is committed to equity. Our low-income program, Spin Access, offers 50% off normal rates to eligible low-income residents. We have consistently met deployment requirements in equity zones as well. And in light of COVID-19, we've reached out to UTA to help fill transportation gaps with lessened service, and we launched our Everyday Heroes campaign to give healthcare workers and employees free 30-minute rides. In regards to the ordinance up for consideration tonight, we really appreciate all of your continued work, not only on the dockless shared mobility program, but just in general, but really appreciate you making this a long-term viable permanent program. So we support the ordinance and want to make sure that the city is able to cover expenses of the program, but also want to make sure the costs are not prohibitive to our continued partnership with the city. So we encourage Salt Lake City to utilize a combination of upfront permit fees along with a per ride fee to fund the program. And we also suggest that the city put the burden of compliance, things like sidewalk writing and proper parking on the operator and keep companies accountable, whether that be increased educational outreach or having operators implement a fee structure for non-compliant users. Again, really appreciate your consideration this evening. We really look forward to our continued partnership with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. April.
And next we have Ado Milicevic, followed by Mackenzie Vial, and then Dylan Larson. Ado?
Yes, my name is Ado Milicevic. I would like to speak to the dockless vehicles. Good evening, Honorable Council. Thank you so much for your leadership during this difficult time in our city. Again, my name is Ado Milicevic, and I am the operations manager for Spin, one of the shared mobility device companies here in Salt Lake. As a local resident who migrated here at the age of 13 and now has 3 children, this is home, and I am personally committed to making sure Spin's operations serve our community needs. Spin is committed to providing good, quality jobs without making employees settle for independent contractor status. All of our employees in Salt Lake City are just that. W-2 employees with living wages. My team is dedicated to ensure that scooters are parked properly and not ridden on the sidewalk. Last year, after the city launched the Walk Your Wheels campaign, my team and I took a multi-pronged approach to ensure users were parking properly and not riding on sidewalks. My team and I walked up and down downtown for over 120 hours, educating users in person on riding and parking laws while giving out free helmets. We also added in-app pop-ups to remind users that sidewalk riding is not permitted. Most recently, we have added stickers to all of our scooters in big viewable fonts that have a text line for local residents to text and report an improperly parked scooter. When someone texts the local phone number listed, one of our in-house W-2 employees receives the text directly and is able to immediately deploy to ensure that the scooter is moved or rebalanced. The goal of this text line is to make the process of reporting improperly parked scooters easier and more accessible. We hope that this initiative will take the burden off the city. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mackenzie Viao, followed by Dylan Larson, and then call-in user 2. First 3 digits are 867 of their phone number. Mackenzie?
Good evening. My name is Mackenzie Vio, and I am speaking on behalf of Lime. I want to thank the Salt Lake City Council for allowing me to speak today. Lime is grateful to bring our expertise to the Salt Lake City community and sincerely appreciate the public-private partnership we have formed. We understand that despite the successes, there is still room for improvement. We look forward to ongoing collaboration to identify best practices on key issues like safety and parking. Lime is supportive of the scooter ordinance and appreciates staff's diligence. On the fee structure, Lime is supportive of a hybrid model with an upfront permit fee and a 10-cent per ride fee to cover necessary administrative costs and operational impacts. Lime is able to provide trip data for reliable reconciliation and a low administrative burden. A per-trip fee has strong support across the industry. This model provides much needed cost amortization as we work to ensure we remain a viable transportation option for the city amidst these unprecedented times. Additionally, Lime and Bird donated $60,000 to the city to be used for construction or maintenance of bicycle and scooter infrastructure. The May 5th staff report reflected a balance of $47,925 remaining. Lime supports the city using these funds as part of the upfront fee to get the scooter program operational. We respectfully ask that you take this into consideration as you look towards the next phase of the Dockless Shared Mobility Program. We look forward to continuing working in partnership with Utah's capital city. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Next, we have Dylan Larson, followed by call-in user 2, and then Julia Wunsch. Dylan?
Yeah, hi, good evening, City Council. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and allowing us to voice our opinions. I'm speaking in behalf of reference to B4 in support of the city vacating the alley located near Genesee and the alley around the West End LLC development. As a homeowner of the area, I have seen over the last 3 years the degradation of the property values in the area due to the unchecked homelessness that is in the area, the prolonged drug use, the camping, the fecal matter, the trash, and also graffiti of my personal residence. There are now people that are living in their cars out front of our street, and we have called and complained to the city over the last couple of years several times, and to no avail. And so I am voicing my support for the city taking the appropriate action in order to vacate that alley so that West End LLC can continue its project for the condos, the restaurant, and the bar in that area. Thank you for taking the time to hear my voice. I'm very much appreciative being an American and being able to support and voice my opinion in public matters. So thank you.
Thank you, Dylan.
Next, we have call-in user 2, followed by Julia Wunsch, and then Denise Taylor. Call-in user 2, if you could share your name and then proceed with your comment.
This is George Chapman. I assume you can hear me. I have comments about the scooter situation, the CIP, and general comments. Regarding the scooters, before allowing any more scooters in the city, you should require all electric scooters to have a speed limiting switch, which is 100-year-old tech. You just put the switch on the handles, and that's the only way you should be able to ride safely on sidewalks, 5 miles an hour. Any place else you can go 20, 30, I don't care, but 5 miles an hour should be a switch on the scooters. Signs on the scooters saying don't ride on the sidewalk don't work. A switch would work. Regarding the CIP funding, the 13th South anti-camping resistant funding is needed desperately. Students shouldn't have to run a homeless drug addict gauntlet to go to school. Please add that to the budget before approval. I thank you again for putting in the CIP Allen Park, and the 17th South, 11th East Light. Amy, Sugar House made out like a bandit on CIP. The city is planning on reconstructing side streets, many in Sugar House, when it should be focusing instead on arterials that discourage bicycling, because those are the streets that really develop the problems near the curb where bicyclists go. And I urge the city to stop focusing on the least used streets in the CIP funding. Salt Lake City should also allow higher heights only if affordable housing is in the building. The Sears building and the Station Center discussions you're having should have affordable housing required if you want increased height. Remember, the Sugar House streetcar zone had it. UTA is about to extend the city's contract for increased transit service, but the million not used should be used to push UTA to implement for a few months a $1 fare. And finally, on general comments, please put portable toilets for homeless around the county building before you do anything else, so the county understands they need to get off their butt and do more on homeless and mental health. Remember, they cut mental health over 50% almost 10 years ago. I also encourage, I know the council and the mayor are really trying, and I respect you for this, but I encourage a respectful dialogue with police officers to ensure a fair resolution of concerns between the community and the police. A unilateral policy change without a public hearing is disrespectful to the citizens, the residents, and the businesses, along with the police who have to actually implement the policies. This is not good management. Please have a discussion, a vigorous, respectful discussion with everybody involved before you implement the policies. I know all of you care. I respect all of your opinions, even though I disagree with some of them, but I urge you to be respectful to everybody, including the police. Those are my comments. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, George.
Next, we have Denise Taylor, followed by Tyler Larson, and then Jordan Atkin. I'm not seeing Denise. We'll move to Tyler Larson. Jordan Atkin is here to listen. And then we'll have Jesse Allen. Tyler Larson.
Hello, and thank you for your time in holding this meeting. I am speaking in reference to B4 in vacating the alleyway next to Genesee Avenue for Weston LLC. I'm just here as a resident who owns a home on that alleyway and voicing my opinion of vacating that lot for them in support. I think it will go a long way to resolve the urban camping and rampant drug use and sale that occurs in that alley. We've spent years trying to eradicate that through many different options to no avail. So that just wanted that in the general comments that there is rampant drug use and urban camping at that location, and the rest of the alley is in shambles. And so I would like to see if that portion is vacated, that the rest of the alley can be repaired, because it looks like it hasn't had work done in many decades. So thank you for your time and hearing from me and other residents in the area.
Thank you, Tyler.
Next, we have Jesse Allen, followed by Krista Kendall, and then Jack Funk. Jesse?
It's something we can measure based on their effectiveness as a project manager. Didn't have these issues because
Jesse, are you there?
every single space in the building. That will take us long. But
Council Chair, I'll go ahead and chat with Jesse and move to the next person. Next, we have Krista Kendall, followed by Jack Funk, and then Marga Beecroft. Krista?
I'm just here to listen. Sorry.
Oh, thanks, Krista. Up next, we have Jack Funk, followed by Margot Beecroft. Jack? Jack, are you there? Council Chair, I'll chat with Jack and then move to the next person. And then next we have Margot Beecroft. Margot?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, thank you.
Okay. First, thank you so much to the City Council for all your efforts on the scooter ordinance and for listening to the downtown residents. Are we now ready for the moped invasion? Will mopeds also be able to come in the back door and strew their ride-sharing scooters on the streets and sidewalks of Salt Lake the way the other scooter companies have done? It's apparently quite a successful business model across the country for aggressive scooter companies to look for cities that have weak regulations, leave their vehicles on the sidewalks, and then file lawsuits if they don't get their way. No, we have no mopeds so far, but they're probably not far behind. You may be aware that Revel suspended its moped service in New York after 2 people were killed within a matter of days. It's interesting that those 2 deaths made national news, and yet the death of a scooter rider in downtown Salt Lake received no mention in our major newspapers and outlets. I did find a brief mention on ABC 4 News Online. June 28th, 1 man is dead after police said he fell and hit his head while riding an electric scooter. Battalion Chief Eric Sloan said a call came in about 6:08 p.m. to report that a man fell onto the sidewalk from an electric pay-to-ride scooter and was bleeding from his head. Chief Sloan said the man was not wearing a helmet. We don't know how many people have been injured on scooters in Salt Lake. I'm sure it's significant. I do know that your vision of a beautiful, safe, walkable downtown as set forth in the 2015 Pedestrian and Bicycle Master Plan has been decimated by the arrival of hordes of scooters. I am so angry. Please don't mention that ridiculous, unsightly intersection at 3rd East and 7th South as an example of the collaboration between scooter companies and the city. Please, no more. It's laughable. Please enforce the highest fees, the strictest regulations possible on these scooter companies. We hope we don't have to wait too long until this plague of scooters departs from our beautiful downtown.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. And then next we have Denise Taylor, and Council Chair, I don't have any names after this. Denise?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Mendenhall. My concern regarding e-scooters has always been for the health and safety of pedestrians downtown. Walkability used to be a significant focus of the city's transportation plan. Unfortunately, that has not been the case ever since scooters invaded the city in 2017. Pedestrians are forced to risk their safety when walking downtown because no method of enforcement will be able to restrict reckless scooter riders, skateboarders, bicyclists, one-wheel riders, and eventually even mopeds from using the sidewalks. When the pandemic becomes controlled and things return closer to normal, the increasing availability of scooters and increased usage will cause an escalation of the number of scooter-related injuries and deaths of both riders and pedestrians. Mark my words, this is what the future holds. We should at least require scooter companies to report injuries and deaths on their devices to the Salt Lake City administration so decisions can be made regarding city infrastructure changes and whether to grant scooter companies licenses to operate. In my opinion, there are no benefits to cities in allowing scooter companies to operate. Scooters are infrequently used as the last mile solution, but instead are used mostly for recreation. Individuals who risk their own health and safety performing all forms of dangerous recreational activity should not be allowed to imperil the health and safety of innocent bystanders. The notion that scooters are environmentally friendly is not entirely true. Scooters' negative environmental impact is less than a car, but it's more than walking, biking, riding tracks, and the bus. Regrettably, we are handing the keys of our city to scooter companies whose business model and primary concern is profit, not safety, as they falsely claim. Scooter companies are notorious throughout the country and world for not keeping their promises and often pull out of cities at a moment's notice if their profitability is decreasing, without regard to the time, effort, and expense incurred by cities in developing ordinance, infrastructure, and administrative support. Mayor Bukowski should never have allowed scooters a foothold in downtown. Now many will suffer the consequences. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
And Council Chair, we have another name. Kim Herdig is here.
Okay.
Kim? Kim, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry. I was having technical problems. Are we just talking about scooters or can we bring up other issues?
This is the open comment period, so you can comment for up to 2 minutes on any issue that's not listed on the agenda.
Okay. Can you give me a run through of what the issues are listed? I didn't see that portion.
It's a list of different zoning changes and ordinance changes. So go ahead and give us your 2 minutes of whatever it is that you are wanting to call and talk about.
Okay, cool. Well, it's part of zoning. So I run a car audio shop in Salt Lake, just off 23rd and 27th. And I've been here since last year of August, and I've had nothing but issues with the code enforcement's coming over and harassing me over my vegetation, sprinklers being out, just, you know, stuff like that, taking up my time with, you know, sending me notices all the time. They issued me a business license to operate a home-based business, but they're not actually giving me the opportunity to run my business. So I'm just curious of like how I can change that. There's a couple businesses around me, and I guess I just don't understand the whole concept of me being in a residential versus residential commercial.
So thank you, Kim. We don't usually engage in, this is your opportunity to, as a member of the public, to tell us what your thoughts and feelings. We don't engage in a conversation. But if you have questions, we can have somebody from the city council staff follow up with you on ways that you can address the issues that are interfering with your home business. So we'll go ahead and have somebody from the city council staff contact you or dialogue with you in the chat about how you can get your questions answered, okay?
That would be awesome. I've been waiting for about a month for a city council member to get back to me on this issue.
Okay. Well, we will have city council staff get in touch with you on this, and they'll loop your council member in as well on the information that they provide you. Okay.
That'll be awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling in.
Yep.
And Council Chair, I see we also have call-in user 5.
Okay.
Call-in user 5, phone number, first 3 digits is 647. If you could say your name.
Margaret Holloway.
Morgan Holloway, thank you.
I think it's Margaret, but go ahead, Margaret.
Oh, gosh.
Hi. I know I write to you guys a lot, but I'm really, really upset about the plateau of dirt that was never mentioned in any of those townhouse meetings for the water treatment plant. And I've written to the council, I've written to find out how come it was not put in. And it's a rush thing. Everybody knows about that low water over there. And 3.5 stories of dirt that's going to blow right smack into our neighborhoods. For how long? Who knows? Who knows? But I guess, well, you know what? It was not mentioned unless I was totally stupid and I missed the whole of them because I went to 3 of them about the water treatment plant, about that level of dirt. And also about the trees over at Warm Springs. I've asked how much it's going to cost and no one's ever gotten back with me on that. And I'm like, why on earth are you cutting down all those gorgeous trees over at Warm Springs Park when you guys took out the soccer teams over at Rosewood? Because to put in the cricket pitch. If you needed space to put more soccer teams instead of cutting down all those gorgeous trees and ruining that park just for soccer games, I'm sorry, I don't understand this city. Because you guys tell us one thing and then you turn around and you do something else. So when you talk about capital city projects, it doesn't really matter because you guys are going to do whatever you want, spend whatever you want, and never tell us the truth. This goes on and on and on. And I email and I don't get responses to it, but by golly, we're going to be choking the dirt over here. But you know what? That's just the way the city goes, isn't it? Aaron Mendenhall's planting trees where there's no water. Along parking strips, there's no water. Oh, well, I'm planting trees. And I know, Mayor, I know you promised to plant us trees. But by golly, can you at least make sure there's going to be water before you spend the money and putting the trees in the ground? I mean, that's what we're going to get on the west side is nothing but choked out dirt. And I hope you guys all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Council Chair, that's the last name I have.
Okay, thank you. And can we just make sure somebody from staff can follow up with Margaret too and get those questions answered?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, council members, that is what we have for public hearings. So we'll go ahead and move on to item B1, which is the ordinance that would regulate the use of electric scooters and other dockless shared mobility devices in the city. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion of this motion? Seeing no hands, I'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros.
Yes.
Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We will move on to item B2, which is a resolution for project funding allocations in the Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, which involves the construction, purchase, or renovation of buildings, parks, streets, and other physical structures. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I think the original timeline for this was for you guys to just close the hearing and refer it to a future date for action.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen. Mr. Chair, with that knowledge, I would like to move that the council close the public hearing and refer the item to a future date for action.
Second.
Thank you. That was a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Mono. Okay. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to budget amendment item number B3, which is an ordinance that would amend the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2020. Look for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
I move that the council continue the public hearing to August 18th.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Valdemoros. Is there any discussion of this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We'll proceed now to agenda item number B4, which is an ordinance that would vacate an alley adjacent to properties owned by West End LLC located at approximately 730 to 740 West and 900 South to Genesee Avenue in the Cummings subdivision. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing and note a second public hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2020.
Second.
The motion from Councilmember Rogers and second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion of this item? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That will pass unanimously. We'll move on now to agenda item B5, which is an ordinance that would rezone properties at 5525 and 5575 West, 1730 South from CG or general commercial to M1 light manufacturing. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing and note a second public hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2020.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers, a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion of this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
How about Fowler?
I'm a yes too.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Amy.
That's okay.
Councilmember Fowler is a yes. That's a unanimous vote. We will proceed to item B6 regarding an ordinance that would rezone the properties at 700 North, which are 1616 West, 1632 West, and 1640 West from at 7th North from R1 5000 or single family residential to CB or community business. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing and note a second public hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2020.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler, a second from Councilmember Fowler. Wait, I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers, a second from Councilmember Fowler. Sorry again, Amy. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. Let's move on to item B7, which is an ordinance that would rezone the property at 1612 West, 700 North from R1 5000 or single family residential to CB or community business. I'll look for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing and Note a second public hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2020.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers, a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Valdemoros,
Yes.
Mono,
Yes.
Dugan,
Yes.
Fowler, Fowler.
Yes, my mute button's not working.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We will move on to item B8, which is an ordinance that would amend the zoning map and future land use map for two properties at 771 North and 795 North, 400 West. Is there I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and note a second public hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2020.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Fowler. I have a second from Councilmember Valdemoros, I think was first. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we will proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers. Johnston.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I skipped you, Anna. Valdemoros. It's really hard when you're not all in front of me to go through the list, but Valdemoros. Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? Okay, good.
No.
I'm a yes as well. And that passes unanimously. We are now at part C of our agenda, which is the comments section. We've already addressed item C1, which is comments to the city council. That brings us to item C2. Council members, are there any questions for the mayor, or I think the mayor's designee is here this evening? Any questions from the council? Hold on just a second. Okay, seeing no questions, then we will go ahead and move forward with Lisa and Rachel. Thank you for being here today or tonight, by the way. No questions. We will move on to part D of our agenda is potential action items. We have no new or potential action items, so that brings us to item E1 under new business, a resolution for local emergency declaration that would extend the mayor's March 10th proclamation declaring a local emergency regarding COVID-19 or coronavirus. The council's most recent extension of the local emergency relating to COVID-19 terminates August 14th. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
So moved.
Oh,
could I just ask if the council could specify that the expiration of this would be December 9th? That would be following the council's last December meeting and would line up nicely if another one is needed at that time.
And given that information, Mr. Chair, I would move that the council adopt a resolution extending a proclamation declaring a local emergency relating to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic to December 9th.
Second.
thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So that passes unanimously. Let's move to agenda item E2, which is a motion to continue to meet remotely without an anchor modification. This is a determination that is required under HB 5002. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue operating remotely without an anchor location based on the global pandemic and earthquake and other things. I don't know what the motion was supposed to say. I hope that covered it.
You're just ratifying my declaration about needing to meet remotely. So
Oh, in that case, Mr. Chair, I move to ratify your declaration.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler, a second from Councilmember Mono. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
That was a new one. Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We will move on to our third item of business, of new business, E3, which is approving the appointment of Ben Colander as Director of the Department of Economic Development. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, can we approve, since all of them are on the consent, advise and consent agenda, can we approve the advise and consent agenda, or must we approve each one of them separately?
I think for advice and consent, we have to have a separate vote. For the things that are on the consent part, then we can do them as one. But I think for the directors for advice and consent, we have to do them separately.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So I would move that we approve Ben Colander as the Director of Economic Development.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler, a second from Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ben. We will move on to agenda item E4, which is advice and consent for the Chief Human Resources Officer, Deborah Alexander. I'll look for a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers and a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and proceed to roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous. Congratulations, Deb Alexander. We are now at item, unfinished business. And that is revisions to the city code for donations to the city. This would amend Salt Lake City Chapter 3.60 for donations.
Mr. Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I move the council adopt an ordinance amending chapter 3.60 of city code to update practices regarding donations to the city.
Second.
I have a motion, or yes, a motion from Councilmember Johnston, a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
And Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That passes unanimously. We will move on to section G, which is the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers and a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That is unanimous. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. And so we will stand in adjournment, council members. Don't forget, we still have our truth in taxation and our closed session briefing. And I think we're just going to stay in this room. Is that right?
Yes, that is.
Okay. So everybody just hang for 2 minutes and we will start at precisely 7 o'clock. From our very brief break, and we are now convened to hold our 7 p.m. time certain truth in taxation hearing. Our agenda item is related to the fiscal year 2021 budget and includes one or more ordinances adopting the final rate of tax levy for all city funds, including the library fund, in an amount greater than the certified tax rate upon all real and personal property within Salt Lake City made taxable by law for fiscal year 2020 to 2021, and adopting the final budget, including the library budget, for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Our host, Amanda, will begin calling names of commenters 2 at a time who wish to speak to this item. So the second and third person that's names are being called, please be prepared to speak when Amanda states your name. If you'd like to notify our staff if you are here to comment and you haven't been called on, please send a chat message to Amanda or Robert Nutzman. Let's see. Amanda, is there anybody here to comment on this issue?
Council Chair, right now we have George Chapman.
Okay.
I see no other names at this time.
Okay. We'll go ahead and go on and hear George Chapman's comments and then see if we have any more come in.
Okay.
George.
George, go ahead.
Okay. This is a little complicated. It's not your fault, but it's very, very important because I've talked to a few people that started complaining about Salt Lake City's new taxes because they just got the tax notice. And a lot of the taxes are going up significantly. It's not your fault. They don't understand. And I think the city should consider putting together an ombudsman or some kind of assistance group that makes it so you can point people in a direction where they can see that there are options. I mean, there are a lot of big companies that understand that property taxes, they get low interest loans in return for not paying property tax temporarily, and they like it. But that's an option. There are other options too. Of course, the state has some very good opportunities for older people and disabled people, but nobody seems to know about this, and that's a concern. So you end up, the council gets complaints as if you're Scrooge, and that's not the way it should be. So I'm encouraging the city to provide more outreach and options, since right now there is a significant increase in taxes. I think the city should be providing education on those options. That's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, George. Do we have any other commenters?
Council Chair, we don't at this time.
Okay. Let's see. Katie, are you with us? How long do we have to keep the comment period open? Is there like a, can we go ahead and proceed with the vote, or?
I am here, and state law only requires a time certain and that you have no other business on the agenda. So you have complied with both of those, and you are welcome to close the hearing.
Okay. So council members, I'll go ahead and look for a motion then.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move the council close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance establishing the final rate of tax levy, including the final levy for the library fund on all real property and personal property within Salt Lake City, made taxable by law for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, and ratify this budget as adopted by the council in June.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Mono, a second from Councilmember Johnson. Is there any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Valdemoros?
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. Amanda is messaging with a woman who just indicated that she wants to speak. So I am just buying a little time for Amanda before you guys close the public hearing.
Okay.
There's one more commenter, and I apologize for interrupting.
That's okay. We'll go ahead and take that comment if we can.
Thank you, Jen. And thank you, Council Chair. I just heard from Ann Charles, who would like to speak on the budget. Ann?
Okay.
Hi, yeah, I'm Ann Charles. I'm a constituent here in Salt Lake, and I just generally wanted to speak on the budget, specifically the police budget that hasn't been reduced by any significant portion or any significant change made. I've been researching this now for the past month or two. And in an interview, Erin Mendenhall isn't here tonight, but she had said with the Salt Lake Tribune that she wouldn't say that there's a problem of racism within the Salt Lake City Police Department. And I find that pretty shocking and appalling, given that the state of Utah has a murder rate of 9.2 times higher for Black people than for white people in this state, which I would say is an issue of racism within our police department. And recently, the Utah Fraternal Order of Police said the changes that she made within her executive order were dangerous experiments that don't have any scientific evidence behind them, which I think indicates their unwillingness to do any sort of real change. And I think trying to appeal to them is a misstep in terms of actually representing your constituents and the people that live here. And I think you guys need to do a lot more in the coming year if you're going to approve this budget. That's it.
Thank you, Anne.
And
Any,
Council Chair, I do see one more name.
okay,
We have Katie Mulliken here.
okay.
Katie?
Hi, I'm also just calling just to voice my disappointment in Erin Mendenhall's lack of reductions or any sort of attempt for real reforms within the police department or reductions in the financing that they're currently receiving. Just want to keep that on the radar. Please defund and divest. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Council Chair, that's all the names we have.
Okay. So I will go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
Didn't we have a motion already on the table?
Well, I don't know if we have to recall it because we didn't, well, no, we do have a motion and we just haven't done the vote. So is that right, Katie? We good?
Sorry, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I will go ahead and recall the motion, or the votes for the motion. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Voldemoros.
Yes.
Sorry, Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Then that is unanimous. Council members, that concludes our truth and taxation hearing on all of our business is done, except that we had a tentative closed session briefing for the purpose of seeking legal advice or pending litigation. If somebody would like to make a motion to move into that, then we can move into that. It's our final item.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we go into closed session for the purposes of advice of counsel and strategies regarding pending litigation.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Johnston to go into closed session. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll call it. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Voldemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Let's go into closed session and we'll have staff let us know when we're ready to proceed.